Hello, hello, beautiful people. Here I am again on this beautiful, snowy Wednesday night here in New York, and I want to talk about dreams. This is going to be, I feel, a weekly experience, a weekly live chat, as I did in the past. And so tonight I'm going to be talking about bedtime vibes, setting the right tone, setting the right vibe for your bed space and your dream space. And also, before I have my friend Mary join me, I also just want to share that I currently have available my dream notes from the dream circle that I facilitated over this previous eclipse season. And so within this 25 page, you could say, dream guide, I go over or I share like the important points of the bedtime ritual, of dream interpretation and how to set up your dream journal, as well as the astrology and how to connect with your dreams and astrology in your chart, astrology in transits. I also talk about the dream planets and the dream houses in astrology, as well as dream embodiment, reflection, and integration. So there's a lot in this 25-page PDF, and it's available if you are interested, and you can get that via the link in my bio. It's only $22 and it's an instant download. So if you really vibe with what I share here during my lives on dreams, then definitely check that out. If you go to the website, there's actually you get a preview like of a page or two of just what you can expect from like what the style is and what it looks like. So it's really, really beneficial and helpful, and I think I'm only going to have it available for a limited time. And also, if you are wanting to do the dream circle with me, I'm going to be facilitating that again during the next eclipse season, which is going to be in April. So you can sign up for the wait list for that at the same link, so you can be updated when I open that space up. Awesome. Mary's here, so we're just going to jump right into it. I'm going to grab her, let her in.
Hi,
Hello.
gorgeous. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. It was almost a moment of, am I actually going to go live? Because it was like everything happening at once, and it's been a day already. So I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm just going to chill and keep it all the way real as always. So
Do you want to sync up first?
yeah,
Okay,
let's do that.
let's do that. Okay, right over left. I've already got my legs crossed here. Right hand under left, and then turn your body to the right, your head to the left. 3 breaths through the mouth. Breathe through the nose. And
Uh,
thank you for the invite for tonight. This is
I mean,
so exciting.
invited me.
Ah,
I
you
was
know
on.
how it is. It's
Yeah.
it's still initiated by you, because ever since you started talking about dreams, that's it. Now, like, I'm latched on. First, I wasn't dreaming at all, even though we know that that's
Yeah.
a true statement. And then all of a sudden, now I've got all these little cues that keep sinking in, which, as you have experienced, I come running to you with, right?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's like you always have, I feel it's every week at least you have some dream to report, and it's awesome, and it's just really fun to have a discussion and share on it, and it's always, of course, linked to what is in our current experience, at the moment, especially even with, just what you and I are experiencing individually, and then us as friends, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so interesting how our dreams kind of connect with one another.
And coincide,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So before we get started, welcome in everyone. Feel free to leave your comments, ask any questions. We're going to be talking about dreams and what I title bedtime vibes. So like setting the right like vibe for sleeping, for dreaming, for where you might travel and during the night, and that really has a great influence on obviously your dreams, this is a moment where your unconscious mind or your subconscious can connect with you, and that connection will also have an influence of the energy that you wake up during the day, so or in the morning. And so I'm really excited that you essentially presented this as a topic, because I didn't know if I was going to go live, and I didn't really have a topic. And so I got the nudge from you, so
So
thank you.
why don't we go with that and work backwards so that then we can sort of recap with respect to honoring energies and whatnot in the end.
Yeah.
But I'll share as well, but as our viewers might know, I've been away this week. So, of course, one of my little catch up with respect to being back home with my daughter was that we were just catching up on riffraff video shows and stuff like that we like to watch together. And she was like, "Oh, Mom, Love is Blind season 5 came on, and I was just wondering if you wanted to catch up." And lo and behold, I entertained this, and entertaining it. Season 5 was like polluted with drama and like layers of it. And as a result of it, because there was so much drama and the question of trusting one another and how to give of yourself when you're just first getting to know someone, it triggered, and it actually called in the energies of what I didn't realize was unfinished and unresolved issues with my feelings of my past ex, right? So
Your baby
having
or your baby daddy?
no, my
Oh,
most recent ex, and
oh, I
yeah,
was your children's father. Okay.
no, 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 no. So this was my most recent ex, and as it turns up, it's that relationship laid to rest about 5, 6 years ago, if not longer. And what came of it was that when that came to an end, years later, maybe about 3 years ago, the individual revealed his disloyalties to me and
Wait, this is
was
in the dream or
no,
this is in real life?
no, that's in real life. So I want to give you a little bit of
This is
backstory so
the
that
real
you
life.
know how it is that it impacted the
Okay.
dream, right?
Fine.
So
Okay.
having said that, I guess the person needed to clear their conscience and made a point of revealing the wrongdoings. And I says, well, that's really big of you. Thank you very much for coming across and letting me know. And I don't know, it sat heavy with me because of the way that the apology came in, because with apologizing for wrongdoings, there's always a way and a mannerisms, just like in communication, that things should be delivered, right? And when somebody opens with, "I don't care what you think of me, like you can hate me, you can do this, you can do that, and I was at the wrong place and I did XYZ and I'm sorry." So there was no like, you know, softening of the delivery of that. So I guess for me, it left it lingering, that not that I grew resentment, but I don't feel that I was able to really forgive the person,
Mhm.
because I feel like it's unfinished dialogue, right? So let's fast forward to last night. As a result of that show being the very last thing that I viewed last night, which is really out of my norm, right? Because my room's all set up with all my candles, this, that, and the other. And usually I spend time journaling, but I was so exhausted immediately after we doused in that, because it was like 3 a.m. by the time we got through it. I went right to sleep. Going right to sleep, what do I dream of? I dream of as if I'm like in an island space, right? And I had my energies of my son when he was younger, and my daughter's energy, I couldn't see an actual body of her, but there was her energy there. And she was more like my bodyguard, you know, protecting me kind of thing, right? So this ex of mine had come to me in my dream and was asking for like to be redeemed and to be able to have an opportunity to revisit seeing each other again, right? So I must have given in the dream, because as I was coming back from running an errand, then I'm going into this little, what is assumed to be my home, and he was there with another woman. I don't know who the woman was. My son is no longer in this scene. My daughter is no longer in this scene. And I had this like energy of my ex and the significant other woman, like as if they were like in my face, ridiculing me, right? That, you know, ha ha ha, you don't know what's going on, but we're going to show you type of thing, right? And it was just, I woke up just in that heaviness. I woke up so angered. And I'm like, no, why is this here, right?
Mm.
And I honestly, in complete transparency, I don't feel like I have any residual. And then I just thought,
Yeah.
if it's there, if it's in my dream, then my to-do thing tonight is to sit down and journal and clean that slate.
Right. So here's the thing. This is a great point to pause. One thing I want to point out for those watching, and if you are wanting to intentionally do dream work, listen to how Mary unfolded the story, because these are important points. You first identify the location, the people in the dreams, the emotions, you know, just how like the overall vibe of the dream was. And those are really important points that while we're not really intentionally paying attention to, they actually give us a lot of like, there's a lot of meaning, there's a lot of symbolism in that. And yeah, it could be like residue things like, yeah, you're on an island because you spent literally the month of October and like November, early November in different islands, right? And so that in itself, but then paying attention to really the feelings of the dreams and how, you know, the people in the dreams present themselves to you. And so even though I know that you just said that you feel that you have really essentially dealt with that, like there's no resentment there. However, it's really interesting to me with dreams how the unconscious self comes through, and there's a little something there, and maybe you have gotten over some aspect of that, like a big aspect of that whole relationship experience. However, where you have evolved within your healing journey at this point, there's something there that was still kind of like unnoticed, but now it doesn't resonate, it's out of alignment. And so your unconscious mind is like literally serving it up to you like, hey, look at this, like how do you feel about this, you know? It can almost you can at times look at it as almost like a test of, you know, it's like, oh, does this still, I don't want to say trigger because I know how you feel about that word. But does this
Is
still,
this a
is
clue?
that discomfort? Here's the clue, here's the contrast.
Yeah.
And is there something there that you can learn? There's always some little thing. And usually with these kind of dreams too, or with dreams in general, where I have this kind of feeling, or I'm looking to interpret, I will, see what comes up in the next like couple of dreams, like, to see if there's some sort of theme.
Well,
But
the other thing that came to mind was based on where we are with the energies and the astrology too. We're supposed to be hit with all these old residual things to see how we will react to them here and now. So what my speculation was of self was that, oh, here's my humanity again. You know how, what's the saying? You get over one by getting under another or something. I don't know. I just hear these things, right? Well, I think that in our humanity, when you're sitting there entertaining all those old sayings that that linger type of thing, I think we're all guilty of holding space until someone new comes into our space. And honestly, I've just literally been holding space for self, because as I've shared with you, my concern has been literally healing myself and until I get to know me and until I feel safe and complete love for self, I don't feel that I can really let anybody else in, type of thing, right? But it was interesting to see how that played out. And I feel good. I feel like the dream was the beginning
Hmm.
of me finally laying it to rest.
Yeah, like you can even just in this moment, as you said that, I can even see this dream just like your unconscious self presenting this to you to be like, hey, look how far you've come, right? Like, look at this transition or just this transformation you've had, and all the work that you've put in has really worked, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I feel this level of confidence from you in this moment. And so that's one of the things that personally I am, I don't want to say working on, but one of the things I'm navigating, I guess you could say, is my mind and always going to like the negative aspect, because I mean, what do I not deserve the good outcome? Like, why does it always have to be like the worst case scenario? Or it's like, oh, this thing is happening, or why can't it be that this good thing is happening to me? And so I think that when we look at dreams and the interpretation, I like already in this experience, I'm feeling the feeling. I think that's most important. And I felt the same feeling when you shared it with me earlier. I was like, oh, it felt light when you
Yeah.
shared it, right? And so
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of
There's definitely nothing there. I think that I was more disturbed about the one that I shared earlier, because that one also, like, as I've shared with you before, I'm not really one to remember my dreams. It's only
yeah.
since we started to have these conversations that it's almost as if it's put a little post-it note to, hey, be mindful of your
Mhm.
energy, or be mindful of how you're feeling. And there was another dream that I had, I think a few nights ago, and that was of this individual that literally I felt they abducted my conscious mind, and
Mhm.
was like an intruder in my conscious mind, because I believe I was dreaming of something completely different,
Yeah.
because I remember a scene of some sort, but with this face coming in, and it felt so demonic type of thing, as if like, ha, I'm here, I see you, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it felt like they were looking to get deeper into me, and I felt almost like an essence of like, I don't want to say poltergeist, but I just felt unsafe, right? So
Yeah.
I just immediately woke from myself, and I'm like, oh, hell no, you're not allowed, right?
Mhm.
And I'm really sensitive with my energies, because usually before I go to bed, if anything, that's when I'm asking, I give my gratitude for my days and the way that, whatever it is that I want to like prime for the next day. And then I close with like asking for my downloads and whatever information that I may require when the time comes of being in creation mode, right? And I believe that that's why I really don't remember much of my dreams, because I sort of like seal it like a little safety deposit box for me, right? And that makes me
Yeah.
feel tranquil.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about energies, though, like, I mean, I really want to put it out there on how important it is to protect your energies, and how important it is to keep your space sacred, and to prime what it is that we're going to desire in that unconscious state of being, right? And
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah.
with energies, I remember when I first put my toe in water, we were always pretty much advised that it is important to ask permission when you're, even like, if I was to want to do a blessings for you or your family or whatever, 9 times out of 10, when I hear that someone's not well or whatever, I ask for permission
Oh,
first, and then I ask for the name, and then I will literally tell them when it is that I'm doing the blessings, and in the aftermath that it's done, I'll ask for the feedback as well. So that dream coming to me felt very intrusive.
yeah. So before we get into the whole bedtime vibes and also just the energy, like that dream space, because that's really important. I tend to have unwanted visitors. I definitely know that if there's a presence in my space that's not that's uninvited or something like demonic, something that is antagonizing, they will come to me in my dreams, but it's always like in between the dream and like waking up. And I have a lot of activity with them, and it's a whole, like, I call spiritual battle. But before we get into that, I just want to share a comment that the key to KB said. It's good to recognize yourself first. I hope you have healed. You deserve happiness and to be loved. So thank you for that
Hi, Chris.
comment. Yeah. Hello. If you all have any, questions, comments, definitely feel free to leave them whenever it arises, and we will read them and share what has come through and answer any questions, of course. And so, there was something I wanted to mention about, I know it'll come back. Okay, so yes, talking about the bedtime vibes and how that's really important to, oops, what am I doing here? That's really important to be mindful of. That was the way I started out the dream circle. That was the very first thing. It's like getting your bedtime ritual, established. And that bedtime ritual essentially is really your bedroom space, or a space that, like that you, like what you do before you actually go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of times, like, it's interesting when I had those moments where I watch something, or like it could just be a video here on social media, or listening to something, and it's not what I usually watch, and it's really kind of low vibe, in the sense of something like what you watch with all the drama and just things I don't usually watch that aren't inspiring to me. And I really noticed how that does affect my sleep and just like the whole vibe around me, which before, when I would watch those things or listen to those things in the past, I like didn't even really notice. But as you are, like, as you go through your healing journey and you evolve, essentially, or you're on this process of, the evolution, all of those things tend to stand out, and they really give you more hints and clues of the things that are out of alignment, right? And so I think it's really important to establish a good bedtime routine, even if it's just having a moment of meditation, or saying mantras, affirmations, prayer, whatever, just something to literally clear the space, or even washing your hands, right? Like literally cleansing your body and your hands of, the energy that was there before you go into the bed space.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, because going to sleep means that you're inviting in your next day, right? And what a way to start your next day, but with a clean slate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom also had a couple of horrific dreams this week as well. So I don't know if it's just a heavy hitter in the energies right now, but she had a dream that woke her as well. And ironically, look at her concerns. She dreamt that her two freezers defrosted, to the point that mom gets up to check the stand-up freezer in the laundry room, and she's like, okay, everything's fine here. She goes back to sleep and then ends up entertaining this dream further, and she dreams that she had a whole slew of rotted meat. Now, I understand, based on her mythical knowledge around dreams, that rotten meat or dreaming of meat is a bad omen.
Oh, really?
As is losing your teeth. So she also dreamt of that immediately following, and she was
What is losing of the teeth? What is that?
so.
I used to have.
For us in Italian, they say that when you lose your teeth, and it rhymes, it's loss of close relatives. Pierde riente pariente. So you're gonna lose parents or something. Well, she has no parents, so she's thinking of other close relations for her. So she's got her antenna
But
up,
and
eagerly waiting to
right.
hear someone's
But that
passing.
could just be like in the case of this particular situation, and this is what I've learned from my own dream interpretation experience is that while that might be the omen, that also just knowing some of the history of your mom is like, I guess as long as I've known you, that is also just her anxiety, like the anxiety about that happening. And so the anxiety manifests in the dream as a dream about teeth, because her unconscious mind knows that, hey, you're going to, it's just like amplifying. This is called an amplified dream, where it's just amplifying your concerns and your worries and your anxieties, even though that might not be true, right? Like no one might be dying, but your constant worry about, just your family members and their well-being will generate a dream in that way.
Well,
So
then the harder you think about it, the more you're going to magnify it in too, right?
yeah. And so speaking of going to bed, or just being intentional of what the energy is when you're going to bed. For me personally, I start the process, or my dream cycle, my bedtime practice, really good, and it really syncs up with my own moon cycle, my menstrual cycle. So in the beginning of my menstrual cycle up until, a little bit after ovulation, everything's awesome, like I'm meditating, I'm inspired, and then I hit this particular phase, which is, it's pretty much between ovulation and your actual period. And this is the phase of like it's called like the inner autumn, where like everything is like within you. It's like kind of like that dying release, but there's a lot coming
Mm-hmm.
up, and there's heaviness, and there's like transition. And so when I'm in those parts of my own cycle is when I tend to fall off with my routine, is when I start to feel anxiety or just really melancholy. Like right now, I was like, am I going to show up? Like I'm in that inner autumn season. And when I am not mindful of my bedtime ritual intentions, energy, I go to bed with anxiety 9 times out of 10 of what happened during the day or whatever. And then I, like, in the in between of going to sleep and waking up in the morning, I'll wake up from a dream and have an anxiety attack upon waking up,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't make it as far as like in the morning I'm in a bad mood. It's like, no, in the in the middle of the night I wake up with anxiety, and then it kind of like repeats itself. So, in a perfect world, I would definitely put more attention into my ritual in this period, which is what I intend to do. But yeah, going to bed, like having the experience of being in meditation or even just journaling and kind of releasing what's in my space and clearing that energy before bed versus not doing that, it's a completely different world. And even when I wake up in the morning, if I've cleared my space before bed, I wake up inspired and ready to take on the day. If I haven't done that, I'm laying in bed, just like already scrolling on Instagram, like just getting up at the last minute. And so, there's a lot there to really setting the tone for that, bedtime, sleep time.
I really enjoy, and I want to be intentional furthermore with this because I've done it a few times. But bedtime, the lovely organ reset that we found through the fascia maneuvers,
Yeah.
that is amazing to do in your bed, and you just like melt in your sheets like butter,
Yeah.
and you don't even know when you drift off. It's just like you go into la la land and you wake up so like rejuvenated and ready to go, and you don't feel overwhelmed and you don't feel hesitant, none of that. It's amazing to reset
Yeah.
all of your emotions through your organs. It's amazing.
Yeah, and what's been helpful for me is like when I do have those moments when I wake up with anxiety, like I can feel if I'm about to have an anxiety attack. And I started doing the hand over heart and overhead, like laying in the bed, and that alone, and breathing, of course, and also saying gentle, words to myself. Literally, it just, everything kind of like flows away, and around it, I'm clear, I'm relaxed. and then I can easily fall back asleep. Because in the past, I wouldn't want to fall back asleep. I would get up, I would make tea, I would be up for at least 30 minutes. And so it's definitely made a difference to do that reset, or at least like in the middle of the night when I have those moments, I do the hand to heart. So are there any?
The heart, it seems like it's something silly, but it is powerful.
Well, you know what was really interesting, that I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I remember you always shared, like, or you shared a few times in the beginning of doing that, you couldn't find your heartbeat.
Oh,
Like you were, yeah, trying
it took me forever to find a heartbeat. I think I was like 6 months in before, like I'm sitting here listening to the instructions,
to,
like,
like, all
feel
right,
your heart. What heart? I know it's there. I know I'm
I got,
breathing. I know I'm alive. But I didn't feel a damn thing until about 6 months in. And then I became very present.
well, for me, it's the opposite, where it's like it wasn't that I didn't, like, I was afraid to feel my heartbeat, because I'm like, is it going to be like irregular? Here's my anxiety, like always something having to be wrong. Worst case scenario, I'm like, oh, is it going to skip a beat? Like, what if it skips a beat? Or what if it's beating too fast or too slow? And it's just like, and it was very prominent. Like, I could feel it. My body, like my soul wanted me to feel that heartbeat, but I was always in resistance, and it hasn't. So I don't think, have I ever even shared that with you?
No.
Yeah. Which it felt silly, or I was a bit, I don't know if I would say ashamed, but maybe to share that, because it's silly, but there's my anxiety. And so once I allowed that and felt that, then it's literally like my savior in moments of, very intense stress, or like I said, when I wake up with anxiety and I look for, I'm like, where is it? Because I know it's coming too with the anxiety. I can feel my heart starting to pound, like race. And so I connect and I breathe and I like talk with myself. And it's like this gentle nurture, and like literally talking myself off the ledge. Just like, okay, just like move back. You're fine.
So,
You're safe.
so because you use the term my anxiety, I'm going to ask you for permission to be able to insert a little bit of mentoring and coaching
I'm
here, right?
already on it, but yeah.
So first things first, because we're all guilty of it, especially when we're dealing with our health and everything. But the the word my, the way that we take ownership of something that really does not do us any just, right? So maybe you want to, I don't know, control alt delete that, and then maybe you want to take the opportunity to think that maybe it's not anxiety, maybe you're just excited for another day, because
Yeah.
there's such a fine line between the way that our heart races when we're anxious versus the way that our heart races when we're really excited about something.
Very true. No, so you would be so proud. I actually recorded a video. I haven't put it on my YouTube yet, but I had a really profound aha moment, which I'll not talk about the actual aha moment, but just like the energy that we're in, of like finding these missing links and starting in the puzzle piece. But anyways, what really came through was, I've been in this. So let me back it up a few steps. So I've been going to the Buddhist temple, right? And what came up in this last Dharmic teaching was talking about releasing, like giving our, our suffering, like releasing that, offering that up to our spirit guides, to our ancestors and such. And literally, intentionally, deliberately giving it as an offering, right? Not being like, oh, I'm releasing it, just like in process of it, but actually acknowledging it, because spirit will not take it if you're not offering it up. They're not just going to take from you, right?
Right.
You have to really give that. And, he was talking about, the Rinpoche was talking about the different things that you can offer up. But he was like, the key here is to really consider what is your most, or your strongest emotional attachment, right? And of course, I'm thinking about relationships, I'm thinking about, material things, possibly. And it wasn't until yesterday when I received a reading from someone that I realized that my emotional attachment is this whole narrative of my anxiety. Like the anxiety, there's such a strong emotional attachment to that, like some weird distorted sense of safety and security. And it just clicked. This was literally like less than 24 hours ago. And so I did talk about this on my video and how I am releasing the narrative of my anxiety as I just shared here, right?
And what is your big three?
I don't know. My big three is Aquarius Sun, Capricorn Moon, and Scorpio Rising.
You see that Capricorn moon?
Mm-hmm.
Capricorn in the other room.
Right. Oh, right.
Her big deal. My daughter is my anxiety.
Well,
I'm
she
sure
also
you
has,
see.
yeah,
I'm sure you see
very,
her actual like hiding behind the humor of her anxiety, and now
yeah,
she's actually doing her art that speaks to the anxiety. She's using her art to release herself
exactly.
of her anxiety, right?
Yeah,
So yes, our language is huge, and
yeah,
I think that this is why, again, it plays into what are you doing before you go to sleep so that you know how to be able to comfortably rest, type of thing. How are we speaking to ourselves in that moment?
mm-hmm.
What are we priming? What are we calling in? What are we in creation of versus what are we dismantling before we actually have the opportunity to manifest something that we really do desire, right? And that word "my" is a huge crutch for a lot of.
Saying it, I felt so cringy on the inside. I was just
Mm.
felt disgusted, but I had to say it, right? To get the point across, not necessarily I didn't need to say it to get to the point to get the point across, but something within me was, needed that oomph of my anxiety. I fucking hate it. So,
You know what makes me laugh about that though? We say it with such conviction as if someone's in competition to take it
right?
away from us.
Like it's mine. You can't have it.
You
Which
can have it all if you want.
it's like I gotta let it up. I gotta offer it up. I gotta let it go. Just like
Mm-hmm.
let it go. Why am I in it? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I haven't reached this point. This is the first time ever reaching this point and level of awareness in reference to that. And it feels really, really good. Now I'm in that process of the letting go. And I also continue to tell myself that it's not going to happen overnight. It's okay. This is something that I have been experiencing, since I was young. And as I said, it's some weird distorted sense of security, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a part of me that the ego did come up and was, kind of like, well, what are we going to do? Like, I feel really vulnerable without worrying. Like, it's like, oh, I don't have to worry. Like, then that's definitely going to happen if I'm not worrying about it and thinking about it all the time. It's definitely going to manifest. And it's just, my mind is really, yeah.
But again, I think that like from our day to day and stuff like that, and of course a lot of the programming that's come down the pipelines, type of thing that we've all lived through, right? It it really dismantles us from the way that what we have to unravel in order to get to where we want to be at this point, right? So it's not just a matter of practices, it's not just a matter, but it's like sometimes the whole thing of the not knowing, we need to remember that, isn't that where all faith lies? Like it's not like, no, it doesn't matter if they call it Allah, God, divine, or whatever. No one in their religion has seen with the naked eye what that God is.
Right.
So we are being blindly led. It is our humanity through the programming that has us in this excited state of being. I don't want to use your word. Excited state of
Right.
being with respect to needing to know. What do you need to know? Like, I mean, a lot of times the knowing. So for example, if I decide to go parachuting or something like that, which would never happen, by the way, if I decided to go parachuting and I actually pay attention to the details of how high I am and how cold it is up there and all of these
Yeah.
details, you really think that I'm going to sign up for something like that? Hell no.
Yeah.
But there's much to be said about just stepping into it without knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is literally starting to take ownership of our own co-creative state of being, right? Because then we can start to mold things more suited to what we desire, just
Mm-hmm.
within
Well,
that,
yeah,
the way that it
yeah. You're,
unfolds.
when you're in the state of unknown, anything's possible. But once you know or have something figured out, then you've already created like loosely that path, that outcome, right? And so with the focus or knowing of this outcome, like, yeah, I'm gonna go up there, it's gonna be this temperature, it's gonna be like this. Like, what if something transitions that day? Maybe it's like a freak weather day or something like that, and it's warm or something. You know what I mean? You miss out on that possibility because you've already created this specific outcome and you've attached yourself to it, right? And so that is already limiting within itself. And so when you choose to not know, anything's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because look at how many people that we could reflect back on, and it was just a simple thought. It all started in the garage, and then kaboom, they've got this
Mm-hmm.
really successful establishment of some sort. Whereas when ego steps in, that comes from this space, as opposed to pursuing what your soul desire is, right? Then what do? Oh, well, yeah, they did it like that. I think I'll do it like this. Or, maybe we'll
Yeah.
do it in this color instead of that color. Or maybe we'll make it bigger or we'll make it smaller. Holy cause right in my brain, for God's sakes. Hell no. How about you just
Analysis.
blindfold on me and throw me to the wind. Let me see whatever happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's brutal.
It even feels lighter. Like, I mean, I don't know where it got inserted somewhere along the line. This need to know. We don't need to know anything. Just do it.
Yeah. And it's like once you know, also you can't unknow. And I've learned the lesson with that in many ways. And it's just, yeah. I'm thinking of something right now that gave me really, that was a part of my realization last night. So, and it was
So
dealing with,
having said that, what's your suggestion for priming our bedtime ritual tonight?
oh,
Talk to us. Because
tonight,
I know that you wanted to keep this on
yeah,
for bedtime purposes for Saduri under a
yeah,
certain time slot. So
yeah. Hey, and so those of you watching, or if you watch the replay, you can leave this in the comment. But yeah, definitely just let us know if you have a bedtime ritual. I would love to know what that's like, or any suggestions. And also, of course, any questions that you have, because we are about to wrap this up right now. So my suggestion, I mean, it depends on what kind of time you have, but I think what's most important is, I feel, meditation, even if it's, say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes is a good space. 15 minutes if you're feeling, ambitious, but find like having some sort of meditation, whether it's like listening to music or just sitting in silence, or yeah. And then either journal before that, or I would say journal aftering, I feel is more powerful, because when I journal before I meditate, then I tend to focus on that while I meditate. So it takes me a little bit longer to let go. Um,
mm-hmm.
but when you journal after you meditate, then you are doing some sort of channeling, I feel, because you're in that state of coming into oneness with your inner being.
I love your suggestions around those that are like me, that don't tend to remember their dreams. That one of two things have played huge roles for me, and that's one, either keeping a small journal to write down that first thought of the morning so that you can actually remember it, because 9 times out of 10, when you only remember bits of the dream, you can rest assured that somewhere along the line in that day, you're going to have someone say a word that will trigger a memory that will complete that
Yeah.
dream, right? So it's always good to then go back and then finish the
Yeah.
script as to what the message is that you are looking to receive. And the one, if you don't have a journal or you don't want a journal by your bed, then the big one that's really played huge with me is just, again, connecting with the energy of the mood and the feeling that I have when I'm waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And then making a very sound choice from there as to what it speaks to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, one of the things too, I think even if you write just like you said, your mood, or just even say something that really stands out to you or the people in your dream, when you go back to that, what you wrote, just seeing those few things or that one thing, like you said, will, even if someone didn't mention anything that brought the dream forth, going back to the journal, I don't know what it is about seeing that one thing, but you can see it in your mind, like when you do revisit it, and then more will come through, even if it's just the feeling of the dream, which in my opinion is like the most important part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because our emotions really, influence our actions. And what I've researched is that emotions also generate the type of dreams we have. Of course, there are other things happening in our environment that insert itself too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah. Oh, so we didn't mention about, or we didn't go into depths about protecting our energy before going to bed. So is there something that you do to, or something that you're looking to do?
My go-to has always been just to have my discussions with divine.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I always make a point of asking for whatever the downloads are. And of course, in my closing prayers and everything, then I always generally ask for safekeeps for not only myself, but those that are very dear to my heart, type of thing. And if there's any more that you can add to that, like, I mean, by all means do so, because some of those energies can be quite dark, especially if someone's looking to, I don't know, like, I mean, we run into all sorts of energies. So there's many times that maybe certain individuals might be threatened by your energies and might want to just tap in, even if it's just to take a small bite of you. You know what I mean? They might not mean to bring harm to anybody. They might just be curious to come in and look around like it's an open house or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you know that I don't know, type of thing.
Right.
There's a lot of like different scripts for different people, like different strokes for different folks, type of
Yeah.
thing.
No, I
So
definitely.
I would think that there are different styles in which we can protect ourselves, but I think that that would also be up to the individual as to what makes them feel safe, right?
I think that's key. And yeah, so one of the things I do, especially me, I'll say, I'll repeat Green Tara's mantra, because Green Tara is my divine mother, protector, spirit guide, I guess you could say. And I also tend to, like, I like to daydream before, like, while I'm laying in bed. So I like to lose myself in, whatever. It could be a sexual fantasy. But most times it's about the dream temple that I would love to have. Sometimes I'll listen to,
Manifest.
right,
Manifest what you're looking to
really
create,
nice
right?
music. Yeah, like really like Egyptian music or like Tibetan bowls. And I'll be sitting there daydreaming about the temple,
I,
and I will go to bed and really, like, I feel really good, and I'll just drift off in really good
I,
vibes. So
I know individuals that will go as far as to put a little container of sea salt in their
yeah,
drawer, right?
crystals, yeah.
So it's
What?
entirely up to you. You got to like crop a fill with your own energies. These are just sort of some ideas with different people that have shared, but anything will work so long as your intention is true and pure from within and whatever vibes with you best.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you kind of nailed it when you said whatever makes you feel safe. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
safe and peaceful in a sense. Yeah.
Maybe
Awesome.
next time we can take it deeper with respect to where our heads should be positioned and everything.
Oh yeah, I definitely have researched that and have organized my bedroom in such a way.
Same. But
Oh
a
no,
lot of people, I remember how I was like really shocked to even discover that. And I was like, oh shit, this really explains much.
right? I know I've tried to get my mother to rearrange hers. She's had her bed facing, I forgot what direction,
No,
but it's like north.
yeah.
Or since for like 20 years, so that's how long she hasn't moved her bed and changed it around. And I literally, when I was there last year, I'm like, Mom, you got to change this around. Like the feng shui is off and the way the energy, and I was explaining it to her. And, when you're that person of the family, they're just like, oh, she's on, she's
Here
on,
she goes
right?
again.
Like, whatever, whatever, boo boo. So
Well, thank
yeah,
you, beautiful.
it's
I'm
great.
so excited to have done this with you. I think it
Yeah.
went well.
No, this is great. I'm going to also upload it on my YouTube so people can watch it, take your time watching it and everything. Thank you for those of you who joined live for watching the replay. Again, feel free to comment on the replay, any questions or your experience, any suggestions that you recommend for setting a good bedtime vibe and space.
Thank,
Awesome.
thank you. Thank
Well, thank
you.
you. I'm sure I'm going to talk to you as always right after
As
this.
always, have a good one. Sweet dreams.
Dreams.